Thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, I like being in this space today. I have many dreams for our world, as I think many of us do. That's why we're here. Like how I wish that most universities would require an entrepreneurship class before graduation. Or how I wish that older generations would require that younger people document our stories versus just remembering them. Or how I wish we spent more time developing actions rather than hashtag movements. Yeah. Or how I wish every graduate of high school and college went through workforce intensive boot camp. Or how I wish that women didn't have to cower or diminish themselves to be recognized for their power. But for today, I want to focus on a dream I believe is a little more achievable. So I have a dream that we define and deliver on our collective mission, the assignment we were given by our ancestors, rather than focusing on the ego, that which confuses truth for judgment or celebration for bragging. Anybody ever in here ever paid attention to ants? A little bit, you know, and not the movie, not the movie, the cartoon. That's a cute one too, but I mean, you know, the bugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you noticed that if you interrupt their stream, they just go around and keep walking? So it's quite interesting. If you watch them long enough, they may be carrying something, sometimes large items, food. But how can something the size of a pinky fingernail have the power of a hand? So I had to do a little more research to get a little more context, so I know a lot about bugs at this point. And here's what I find. And so I'm going to make some correlations to us as humans to make it super plain and super relevant to the conversation. So ants live in colonies consisting of millions of little ant individuals. So based on my research, there are 42 million African Americans in the United States. So granted, that's 14%. So keep in mind, that's the pinky that can operate like a hand. Something else that was really interesting about ants was that they don't have leaders. So we do know about queen ants, queen bee, right? We know about that, but they have no authority. They have no decision control over the decisions. Instead, every ant understands and adapts to the roles to live out the task, and they even adapt over time. They even have different sizes to adapt to that, because at the end of the day, they all have a singular focus to benefit the colony. So while I'm not suggesting that we don't have leadership, I'm suggesting that we consider what happens if we operate more in unison. What happens if we didn't always need to be the leader? What happens if we didn't need our name to be associated with the success? And what happens if we do all the work and no one ever acknowledges us? I want us to just imagine. I understand that celebration is largely a part and important. That's why we have the music, and I need you all to clap because I'm fabulous and wonderful. But do I need that acknowledgement? Because alternatively, when we don't acknowledge these questions, we find ourselves adhering to the ego. And ultimately, we begin thinking like the individual fingers and not the whole hand. So, I can tell you a lot about ants, but I as anybody who's been in a session with me, you know I have to give you some solutions. So I have 3. I have tons, meet me after, but I have 3 for today. So hear this with love. Let's stop creating new organizations, and let's join the missions of the ones that are already in existence. I do quite a bit of nonprofit consulting, and one of the things I say is, I ask every leader, are we serving mission or are we serving ego? Because mission would require that you close the doors of your organization to join efforts with someone else. But ego says, I need my name to be the signatory. I sometimes wonder if we're really serving mission, because if we were, we would close down most of the organizations we had because we would solve the problem. So let's join together and speak with one voice with collective impact that could drastically change the way that we're seen, could drastically change the way we're heard, could drastically change the way we're interacted with, because after all, we can have strength in one hand. Second, let's go beyond mentorship and let's begin to think about how we position ourselves as sponsors. There are people in our community that can help beside us and walk us into success. And I'm not talking about theoretical success. I'm talking about strategic, financial success. These are people who, some of us are sitting in the room, we interact with all the time, who could usher us into economic prosperity. And so we need to think about how we can be sponsors and not just advice givers. Lastly, we've heard it a couple times this evening, but let's create a habit of saving a seat at the table for others. Many times I'm a part of initiatives that are sometimes challenging for my people to understand, but understand this, that when I have a seat at the table, you have access. It was my responsibility to create a space, as Brian was talking about. I think I forced him to be a part of the coalition, not because he didn't want to be, but I said, you better find somebody who can participate. Because I want you to be at the table when decisions are made, so you can say the things that you need to say. So I hope that this very quickly, in my 5 minutes, drives the point home that we can be as small as a pinky fingernail, but we have as much power in our hand if we are mission-centered. We have to be introspective in our work, and we have to check our ego. We have to check our judgment. We have to refrain from division. We have to get on the same page to create a greater impact. And that's my dream. Kia Jarmon, it's been my pleasure to stay with you.